UFC 258. Kamaru Usman successfully defends his title against Gilbert Burns. What a phenomenal win. Weathers the storm in the first round, was rocked early on, comes back in the second, does phenomenally well, and then drops Gilbert with a power jab in the third, finishes him via TKO. As a result of that, he breaks George St. Pierre's record for most consecutive wins at 170. He now is 13, ties your boy, Khabib Nurmagomedov, for second best start to a UFC career ever, 13 straight, just 3 behind the great Anderson Silva, 4th victory in a welterweight title fight. I mean, we're starting to talk about him as one of the all-time best in that division. What a win, what a performance. What impressed you most about what the Nigerian Nightmare did on Saturday?
The idea that he was able to put everything in its desired place, right? He put the friendship where it needed to be. He made him a rival where he needed him to be. He fought him as just an opposite competitor where he needed that one to be. He was able to compartmentalize everything, right? You didn't see him overly mad about him having to fight a teammate or his teammate wanting to take something from him. You didn't see him overly sensitive in regards to fighting a friend. He was able to put everything neatly where it needed to be, and it showed, because at the very start of the fight, he got dropped. And as he said in this post-fight interview, that is what it felt like when we would spar. I would throw something, he would come back very hard. Again, it speaks to the mental strength of Kamaru Usman not to allow himself to go back to that place, right? Lord knows what happened in those sparring sessions. You don't know if Gilbert Burns dropped him or hurt him, but imagine if he had done that before and Usman goes through that at the beginning of the fight. Mental toughness is at a premium when it comes to Kamaru Usman, but putting everything where it needed to be and then going out and executing his fight plan to the effect that he did, just fantastic.
By the way, you're so excited. You keep talking so forward. Your head's getting cut off. I just want to let you know.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, I want to see your full, beautiful face. Can I ask you a question? I obviously agree with everything you said. If someone walks up to me on the street, and I think any fan would say this and say, like, who are the faces of the UFC? Who are the biggest stars in the UFC? Like the first guy that probably comes to mind right now. I mean, I'm talking champions, right? Obviously, Conor is above everyone else, but as far as champions, like I'll say, Khabib, still the champ. I'll say John Jones. I know, he vacated, but kind of still in that discussion. I'll say Izzy, right? I'll talk about Stipe, the heavyweight champ, always has to be discussed. But when you look at Usman's body of work, you look at who he has defeated, you think about those records that I just talked about. I'm not a huge fan of the whole, like, put respect on my name. Like, it's a little much afterwards, but I have to be honest, he's right. Like, we don't talk about him as one of the best. We don't give him enough credit. We pile on when he has like a decision win over Jorge Masvidal in a tough spot where he had to take a fight on a week's notice too. But we almost forget about the fight of the year contender against Colby Covington and the other great fights he's had. The guy's right. He doesn't get enough respect. He doesn't get enough love. And I hope that changes.
I said that on the broadcast last weekend. For a guy to have done what he's done, I still feel like he's underrated because, and maybe not underrated in terms of skill, but underappreciated is a better word for the way the masses look at Kamaru Usman. Because when he fought Colby, it was all about Colby. When he fought Jorge Masvidal, it was about Masvidal, right? Took the fight on short notice. Even this fight, people talk about the teammate angle, but it was like, can Gilbert Burns get it done? Because I don't know why the masses feel as though Kamaru Usman isn't that guy. But the reality is he's showing time and time again that to get that belt off of Usman is going to take a very, very special performance, because not only is he as good physically as there has been in this division, mentally he's as strong as they come. He's in fantastic shape. He can fight hard. He's got great power, obviously. I mean, the way he throws that 1-2, it's so straight. Every time he lands it, he drops people. He tried to take Colby Covington's head off with the right hand that ended the fight. He hit Gilbert Burns with a 1-2, but bow, dropped Gilbert. Then he switches stances, lands the front jab with the power hand, and it finishes the dude. So I think what we're seeing with Usman is a guy that can adjust to whoever he fights. He possesses skills in all areas. And now you hope that after putting those types of performances together, people start to recognize, wow, this dude's a man. Because he won the belt from Tyron Woodley, right? And people talk about, he clinched him a lot, he wrestled. He dominated Tyron Woodley. He took the belt off him. There was no question going back to the center octagon who had won that fight. He dominated the whole time. First fight, defense, Colby Covington. That was a crazy fight. He laid it all out on the line. blood and guts war between Usman and Covington. He gets a finish. Takes Jorge Masvidal on 6 days, had a broken nose going into the fight, right? Dominates him. And this is, again, why I said Usman calling for Masvidal. Masvidal is a tough fighter. But I believe stylistically, Usman could probably do that same thing to him every single time. Wasn't that difficult for him to grind him out, hold him against the cage, and just really dominate him physically. Masvidal used to fight 155. There's no way Kamaru Usman ever steps on the scale at 155 pounds. That's a massive difference in his ability to control him from the clinch. And then look what he did against Gilbert Burns. He strikes with the strikers, or with the wrestlers. He grapples with the strikers, and he just dominates them. So I hope people start appreciating him, man. He really does deserve it, because what does he do wrong, right? What does he do wrong? He does nothing wrong. Fights hard, trains hard, loves his daughter, lives for his family. You know, what is it? He does nothing wrong. He's the type of guy that people should be flocking to support Kamaru Usman.
I agree. He's must-see TV now. He's incredibly dominant. I think he was hampered by the whole 30% thing a few years ago, and people kind of turned on him. But there's no reason
people say dumb stuff sometimes.
Oh, I know. Listen, I don't agree with it. Remember, I was very complimentary of his performance against Jorge Masvidal, maybe even more so than you, because I thought he did what he had to do to win the fight. And there, he just stood with the guy who I thought was the better striker, who had more power in his hands, took his best shot, and then finished him. I think the move to go to Trevor Whitman, to be in a smaller team where it's more focused on him, to train with a madman like Justin Gaethje will prove to be great for his career. Could I ask you, though, great clip afterwards of you going to see him in the back and saying that he would never catch you with that, but he brought you in close, and it seemed like he was sharing a moment with you. He was saying something to you. Do you mind telling us what he said?
So I went to the back as I was leaving, and I saw Gilbert Burns. I went and gave Gilbert a big hug. He was getting stitched up, and, you know, told him to be very proud of what he had done to put himself in that position. It hurts now, but eventually gets back. Went back and talked to Usman, and, you know, he said something as he was leaving the octagon, and I didn't remember it, right? Because he said, I'm varsity. He kept saying, I'm varsity. And I didn't catch on to what he was saying. And when I went back in the back and we pulled in close, we talked about that again. It's a conversation that him and I had privately before the fight that I can't share the details, but it was something like that, right? It was something to that effect. Just talking and, referencing and going back, calling back to what we spoke about on Wednesday before the fight, because
fighter meeting.
No.
Oh,
on the phone, because I called him and he said, or Tuesday. It was Tuesday when he got to Vegas. I called him. He said, "Hey, D." He said, "What's up?" I said, "What's up, Usman?" He goes, "What's up, D?" I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, first off, he goes, "Let's talk. Are we talking as brothers, or because you're calling this?" And I said, "I'm calling as your brother to talk to you and talk about the fight and everything else." And that's what we did. We talked. We chopped it up. We had a good conversation. And he called back to that conversation in that moment.